Tina Shepard's telekinesis in Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, introduces a new element to the Friday the 13th franchise as a whole, and unlike previous protagonists, she possesses the ability that makes her a surprisingly formidable opponent against Jason, setting the stage for a unique confrontation. But why exactly does her character have telekinesis, and why is it so special? Before answering this question, we first need to understand the origins of Tina Shepard's telekinetic abilities. So it all started with a tragic childhood incident. This incident is when Tina Shepard's telekinetic abilities first manifested during a traumatic event in her childhood. She was witnessing her alcoholic father physically abusing her mother.
Don't tell me what to do!
So young Tina sought refuge by escaping to Camp Crystal Lake in a boat. Her father pursued her, attempting to prevent her departure, and in her distress, Tina's sleeping psychic powers emerged uncontrollably, leading to the accidental destruction of the dock her father stood on. This caused him to fall into the lake where he tragically drowned. So this, of course, had a very large psychological impact on Tina, and this incident is which left Tina with profound guilt and emotional scars, so her mother Amanda recognized Tina's distress and sought psychiatric help. They consulted Dr. Cruz, a psychiatrist, who under the pretense of therapy aimed to exploit Tina's psychic abilities for his personal gain. Dr. Cruz subjected Tina to experiments designed to agitate her mental state, hoping to provoke stronger manifestations of her powers. I mean, this guy just not a very good doctor, you know what I'm saying? This led to the unintentional resurrection of Jason Voorhees, which, is the whole point of this movie, so this is an important part right here. So during one very upsetting session with Dr. Cruz, Tina fled to the lakeside dock by Camp Crystal Lake. And also these dudes, by the way, this is important to mention, Tina's family just lives like right on the edge of Camp Crystal Lake. So, that is very important information we need to throw in here. So Tina fled to the lakeside dock, consumed by thoughts of her father and her desire to reverse the past. And unknowingly, her emotional turmoil and wishful thinking activated her telekinetic powers, leading to the unintended resurrection of Jason Voorhees himself. And Jason, who had been chained at the bottom of Crystal Lake since his last killing spree, emerged from the water, setting the stage for a new wave of terror. So now let's look at the creative choices behind Tina's powers. So the decision to grant Tina telekinetic abilities was influenced by several creative factors. One was screenwriter Daryl Haney, who sought to add a fresh twist to the series by introducing a protagonist with supernatural powers, moving beyond the typical final girl archetype. This choice was inspired by the success of Stephen King's Carrie, aiming to blend elements of psychological horror with the slasher genre. And also the director's vision and unfulfilled ambitions come into play here, as director John Carl Buechler envisioned a deeper exploration of Tina's psychic abilities, aiming to delve into the clairvoyant experiences and surreal nightmares. However, these ideals were scaled back due to producer concerns, resulting in a portrayal of Tina's powers that some felt was underdeveloped. And, I wouldn't say some, I'd say pretty much everybody. This movie kind of goes all over the place, but that doesn't stop it from being pretty interesting. So Buechler expressed disappointment over not fully realizing his original vision for Tina's characters. Obviously, I'd be pretty pissed too if, everyone was like, nah, your idea sucks. We're gonna half-ass your idea, actually. So Tina Shepard's telekinetic abilities are a product of a tragic childhood accident compounded by psychological manipulation and her own emotional turmoil. These elements combine to introduce a unique dynamic to The New Blood, which definitely sets it apart from the other movies in the Friday the 13th series. Now let's look at the creative side of Tina Shepard's telekinesis and how it came into play. So there was an abandoned crossover between Jason and Freddy. Following the Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives, there was a notable decline in box office returns for the series. In contrast, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise was experiencing significant financial success. But also you have to take into account they were on their first movie and Friday the 13th was on their sixth movie. So that's not really a surprise here, but the disparity led Paramount Pictures to propose a crossover film featuring Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger, aiming to rejuvenate both franchises. However, negotiations with New Line Cinema, which held the rights to Freddy, fell through due to distribution agreements. And this concept was obviously eventually materialized later as Freddy vs. Jason came about in 2003. I mean, to be fair, why would they want to pair Freddy vs. Jason when Freddy was hot and ready and Jason was starting to poop his pants? So, you could see why they weren't too interested in that concept. Now let's talk about the idea of innovating the franchise, as Jason vs. Carrie is a concept that was also looked at. With the crossover of Jason and Freddy off the table, the filmmakers sought fresh ideas to revitalize the series. Associate producer Barbara Sachs proposed a storyline reminiscent of Jaws, involving a corporate land developer covering up Jason's past massacres to build condos on Crystal Lake. However, executive producer Frank Mancuso Jr. resisted this direction. Also, screenwriter Daryl Haney then introduced the innovative idea of putting Jason against a telekinetic teenager, drawing inspiration from Stephen King's Carrie. This Jason vs. Carrie concept was embraced for its potential to add a supernatural twist to the slasher formula. And I'm not gonna lie, in my opinion, that idea to have a corporate landowner build condos on Camp Crystal Lake and then all his residents just soon be slaughtered would be a pretty sick movie. So, let's look back into that. I'd be down to see that for sure. So the team behind the 7th movie in the Friday the 13th franchise had aspirations for an Academy Award. So Barbara Sachs aimed to elevate the film's status beyond typical slasher fare, aspiring for it to be unlike any other Friday the 13th movie, and even considered it as a contender for an Academy Award. This ambition led to considerations of high-profile directors, including Italian filmmaker Federico Fellini, to helm the project. While these lofty goals were not fully realized, they definitely still show the filmmaker's intent to innovate within the horror genre. To maintain secrecy and perhaps to distance the project from preconceived notions associated with the franchise, the film operated under the working title Birthday Bash during production. This tactic was employed to conceal its identity as a Friday the 13th installment, allowing the creative team to work without external pressures or expectations. And to be honest, I'd like to see Jason Voorhees at a Birthday Bash. I mean, I'd be interested in that as well. So the introduction of Tina Shepard's telekinetic abilities in The New Blood was a deliberate effort to infuse new life into the Friday the 13th series by blending supernatural elements with the established slasher framework. The filmmakers sought to offer audiences a fresh and engaging experience. But, as we know, that wasn't fully realized, but it was a good attempt, and we can respect it for sure. So now we get to the good stuff, the big, juicy, thick stuff. So Tina's telekinetic showdown with Jason Voorhees, what we all came to see. So months after the tragic drowning of her father, Tina Shepard struggles with guilt and suppressed memories, as we went over earlier, and accompanied by her mother, Amanda, and under the supervision of Dr. Cruz, Tina returns to the lakeside home for therapeutic purposes. Unbeknownst to them, Tina's unresolved trauma and latent psychic powers simmer beneath the surface. A particularly distressing therapy session triggers Tina's abilities, leading her to inadvertently resurrect Jason Voorhees, who had been lying dormant at the bottom of Camp Crystal Lake, which leads to Jason's rampage. Jason embarks on a killing spree, targeting Tina's friends and others in the vicinity. His brutal methods leave a trail of death, instilling fear in the community. Tina, tormented by the visions of Jason's atrocities, grapples with her own role in this resurrection. Her emotional turmoil amplifies her telekinetic powers, leading to uncontrolled manifestations that cause destruction around her. So Tina just fucking shit up left and right at this point. But Tina does have a way to resolve this situation. Determined to end Jason's reign of terror, Tina confronts him at the lakeside cabin, utilizing her telekinetic abilities. She manipulates objects, creates barriers, and attempts to subdue Jason. Despite her efforts, Jason's relentless nature proves formidable, and Tina realizes that the conventional methods are insufficient to defeat him. But we do get that good old final showdown. In a desperate bid to overcome Jason, Tina delves into her memories, seeking a deeper connection to her father's spirit. Her intense focus and emotional plea results in a supernatural manifestation. Her father's spirit emerges from the lake, intertwining with Tina's powers. Together, they confront Jason in a climatic battle that tests Tina's resolve and control over her abilities. The confrontation culminates with Jason being dragged back into the depths of Crystal Lake, ending his terror once and for all. That's not true. It does not end once and for all. Okay, so There's 5 more movies, by the way. Tina Shepard's journey from guilt-ridden teenager to empowered survivor showcases the intricate blend of psychological trauma and supernatural prowess. Her telekinetic showdown with Jason Voorhees not only redefines the confrontation dynamics, but also underscores themes of empowerment, closure, and the enduring bond between parent and child. Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, marked a significant departure from the franchise's established formula, introducing Tina Shepard, a protagonist with telekinetic and precognitive abilities, adding a supernatural dimension previously unexplored in the series. This shift was influenced by the initial concept of a Jason vs. Carrie storyline aiming to blend traditional slasher elements with supernatural themes. So of course there were creative aspirations and challenges here, as the filmmakers harbored ambitions to elevate the film beyond typical slasher fare, even considering it to be a contender for an Academy Award, as we talked about earlier.
Nope.
And these lofty goals were tempered by practical challenges, including budget constraints and creative differences, resulting in a film that, while, ambitious, did not fully realize its initial aspirations whatsoever. But we did get Tina Shepard. Actress Lar Park Lincoln's portrayal of Tina brought depth to the character, emphasizing her internal struggles with guilt and burden of her powers. Lincoln's commitment to understanding the psychic phenomena led her to study with real-life physics, enriching her performance with authenticity. She viewed the role as an opportunity to break away from stereotypical portrayals, aiming to depict Tina as a complex and relatable character. Because, at our core, all of us, at some point in our lives, summon Jason from chains at the bottom of a lake. I mean, if we're being honest, it happens to us all. If it hasn't happened for you, you better strap up and get ready. And I ain't talking about that strap up. I'm sorry. So this, of course, left a legacy. While I'm talking about it right now, it wasn't the best movie, but it left a mark. Upon release, The New Blood received mixed reviews. Critics and audiences were divided over the introduction of telekinetic elements, with some appreciating the fresh approach and others viewing it as a departure from the series' roots, which was the point, by the way. So despite this, Tina Shepard's character has garnered a cult following, with many fans citing her as a standout protagonist within the franchise. Some people see Tina as their favorite final girl, and I'm not some people, but she's pretty good. While the immediate sequels did not continue the storyline of Tina Shepard, the incorporation of supernatural elements paved the way for later films to explore similar themes. The blending of psychic phenomena with traditional slasher tropes influenced other horror narratives, expanding the genre's possibilities. Tina's character demonstrates that audiences are receptive to protagonists with unique abilities, encouraging filmmakers to experience with character archetypes and storytelling techniques. Tina Shepard's introduction in Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, represents a bold experiment in merging slasher horror with supernatural elements, and despite mixed receptions, her character legacy endures, influencing the franchise's evolution and inspiring future horror narratives. Let me know what y'all think about the character of Tina Shepard and the 7th movie in this Friday the 13th franchise. Drop it down in the comments below. Please drop a like and hit that subscribe button, or Jason will be tied up in your bed waiting for you, baby.
What?
He will be chained to the bottom of a nearby lake. Stupid audio correct. Thank y'all so much for watching, and have a blessed day. Peace.